So Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of yesterday's Parsha, turns to Hashem and he says to Hashem, "Why have you done evil to your people?" In response to him, Hashem begins in this week's Parsha, and Hashem says to Moshe, "I appeared to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov with the name Kel Shakai, name Shin Dal Yud, and now Hashem says, tell the Jewish people that my name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. I'm going to reveal myself the name Yud Kei Vav Kei." How is this an answer to Moshe's question? So Rashi explains that I didn't let them know my true self, my true attribute, my attribute of truth. Why not? Because I promised something, I didn't fulfill it. So since Hashem promised us, Hashem promised to Abraham and Yaakov, He was going to give Jewish people the land of Israel, and He didn't give them the land of Israel. So that's what Hashem means when He says, I didn't reveal myself with my attribute of truth. You didn't see my promise come true. That's the simple meaning of how you read Rashi. But that sounds very funny, because it sounds like I told Abraham and Yaakov I'm going to give them the land of Israel, but I don't have to fulfill that promise because I didn't really use my real name. I didn't use my attribute of truth. So I could promise and not fulfill it. It sounds like I'm allowed to lie as long as I use my alias name. But if I use my real name, then I'm talking truth. So you're wondering why the Jewish people are suffering, why I haven't fulfilled my promise. So Hashem says, what's a big deal? I didn't mean it then. I was kidding. Now I'm serious. That's what it sounds like when you read Rashi. It doesn't make any sense. Because Hashem didn't use the other name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, therefore He's allowed to promise and fulfill it. What are those words? Those words sound so radical. I mean, it's impossible. So the truth is that Hashem did fulfill His promise. What did Hashem say to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? He didn't just say to them, "I'm going to give you the land of Israel." He said to Avram, the covenant that He made with Avram at the Bris Ben Absarim, Hashem said to Avraham, "Your children will be strangers in a strange land. They will be there for 400 years. Then they will go out with great wealth, and then I'm going to give them the land of Israel." So this is exactly what's happening, exactly what Hashem had promised. So how can we say that Hashem's promise wasn't fulfilled because they didn't get the land of Israel yet? Hashem said that to get the land of Israel is going to be a process. First is going to be slavery, and only then will they receive the Torah and the land of Israel. That was part of the plan A. So why does God say over here as an excuse for why it didn't happen? Hashem says, you know why it didn't happen? It didn't happen because I used another name. The reason it didn't happen was because that's what Hashem said. It's going to happen in a certain order. So we have to say that Hashem's words were fulfilled. So then the question is the opposite. What does Hashem mean when He says, I didn't give them an attribute of truth? He did. He said exactly what He was going to do. So the answer is like this. In the words that Hashem told Avram, in His promise to Avram, He didn't just say, your children will be strangers and then they'll get the land of Israel. God said to Avram, I have given them already the land of Israel. The land of Israel already is language of the Talmud, already belongs to us. And the question is, at that time, the other nations were conquering more and more of the land of Israel. So how can you say that it's in our hands? How can you say it's in our hands when it's not in our hands? So the question isn't why the Jewish people didn't get the land of Israel yet. The question is on the Hashem. The question is, that is the question. The question is, why didn't they get it yet? Hashem says, I've given it to you already. I've given you the land of Israel already, so that should already be in our hands. How come it wasn't yet in our hands? So that's how Hashem responds, and Hashem says, the reason why it's not in your hands yet is because I didn't use the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. To explain that detail of why technically it belongs to you, but someone else is there right now, and someone else claims ownership of it, even though it belongs to you, spiritually belongs to you. But the fact that there's another person there, another nation there, many nations there, standing there and saying that we are one of Israel, that's because the promise was from a different name. How does that explain it? What does that mean? So there's a tradition, and it says in many holy books, that every prayer that we say has an effect. Every single tefillah. The Gemara says that Reb Chia and his sons had a unique relationship with their prayers, and then as soon as they prayed, immediately there was a response in heaven. As soon as they said Mashav Haruach, Hashem makes the wind blow, the wind blew. Hashem says Meir the Geshem. When they said in their prayers, Hashem causes the rain to fall, the rain fell. And that's a unique thing to see in this physical world how your prayers have an immediate effect. But it's an Chassidic rights. The truth is that every prayer has an effect. Every prayer has an impact. What's unique about the prayers of Reb Chia and his sons was that they saw a physical change to their prayers immediately. But in heaven, spiritually, every prayer does something. There's something that is changing somewhere in heaven through our prayers. It's also possible that our prayers have an effect in this physical world as well, or it reaches this world, but it's possible that Hashem answers your prayer that you're asking for, and instead of giving it to you the way that you asked for it, Hashem gives it to you in a spiritual way. You receive some kind of spiritual response to your prayers. You are asking for something, and instead of actually seeing a change, you receive some divine light instead. It's not exactly what you asked for, but there is some response to your prayer. There's something that's happening to you, but it's not physical. So what does it depend on? How come sometimes a prayer is answered in a physical way, and sometimes a prayer is only answered in a spiritual way? The answer is that it depends what kind of divine light you're reaching with your prayers. It depends if it's a limited light of the Eibishter, a limited light of God, or an infinite light of Hashem. A limited light of Hashem extends from heaven, and it descends to the worlds beneath, the higher worlds. But eventually, if it's limited, it doesn't go all the way to this world. But if the light that you're connecting to through your prayers is infinite, if your prayers are an infinite kind of prayer, and therefore they reach the infinite light of Hashem, then the effect of the prayer is that there's something that happens physically in this world. There's a physical result, a physical change in this world as a result of your prayer. Elsewhere in Chassidus, the Rebbe speaks about the prayers of Eliezer, the servant of Avraham, and we spoke about how we say in our prayers, we say, Ashaleach and Rasi Aretz, Admeheri Aretz Vare. God sends his words to the earth. His words travel swiftly. I've explained that sometimes Hashem sends his words to the earth, and Hashem decides Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur what's going to happen. But as it descends to the world, as every day and every week passes from that original decision of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, there is another judgment about how this divine flow will reach the world. And that's why we have to pray every day. And there's a judgment at every step as this decision that was decided on Yom Kippur, although this decision was about the physical world, but just like when we make a decision about the physical world, we decide you're going to get up a certain time this morning, but when your alarm clock goes off, you reevaluate. So in a similar way, it's possible that there is a divine decision, but then as it goes to a lower level, there's another question whether or not this should actually happen or not. That's when the prayers reach a lower and the more limited light of Hashem. However, when the prayer is like the prayer of Eliezer, which was a selfless prayer, and he just wanted that the Avram's child should have a shidduch, that Avram, his master, who was a servant of Hashem, that the will of Hashem should be fulfilled. So then the prayers are answered immediately, and there's an immediate impact. And Nev actually spoke about how we should pray with that kind of a way, in a selfless way, and we should think about like not just what we want, but why we want it, and how really whatever Hashem gives us in a physical way, how we're going to create something spiritual out of it, and that should motivate our prayers, and that will cause a different impact in our prayers. But so the difference between the physical impact or the spiritual impact, it originates from the limited light of Hashem or the infinite light of Hashem. An infinite light of Hashem reaches this world. The meaning of the word truth, Hashem says to Moshe, I did not reveal myself in my attribute of truth. Truth is something which is in all places and in all times. Like the Gemara says about we learned many times that the rivers which dry up once in 7 years are not kosher for the mechat. It's not kosher to be used for the water of the ashes of the paraduma, because those waters are called lying rivers. They're called rivers which lie, which don't say the truth. Why? Because the fact that they dry up every so often, that indicates that they're not real. They're not imaginary. They're real water there. It's wet, but when we say it's a lie, what that means is that it's not forever. If something's not forever, it's not really true. So just like this is in time, so is this in space. If there's something which is only applicable in certain places but not in others, so then that indicates the thing you're talking about isn't really real. Educators talk about how parents make a mistake when they go to an amusement park and they tell their child, hey, there's a discount for those who are under 12. Tell them that you're 11. So imagine the parents spend $20,000 for tuition. They throw it all away at the entrance to Disney World. They say, you're 11. So they're saying truth is an important thing, but right now it's not important. So you're telling the child that it's okay. The truth doesn't really matter. So space and time, if there's one time that something isn't applicable, that means that it's not really true. If there's one place it's not applicable, it also means it's not true. So when Hashem says that I haven't revealed myself yet, with my attribute of truth, that means is that yes, the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people right now, but that's spiritual. They are the spiritual owners. They're not able to evict those who are in the land of Israel right now. They can't evict them. They are technically, spiritually, legally, halachically, they have ownership of the land of Israel, but right now there's someone else there. I'm not going to give them the ability right now to evict whoever is there from their property. Technically it belongs to them, but they do not yet have the ability to evict them yet. So Moshe Rabbeinu was asking Hashem, why have you done evil to your people? What's the point of all this suffering? Hashem's response is, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise. I haven't yet revealed my truth. The reason why there has to be the exile is because I want to reveal the infinite light of Hashem, the light of Hashem which is in all places and all times equally. And therefore, since this hasn't happened yet, the land of Israel doesn't physically belong to them, and it's all also connected to the Torah that's going to be given right now. We had Torah before. It says in the Talmud that Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov all studied Torah. Not only did they study Torah, they also did mitzvahs. So Moshe's question is also, you're saying you're going to give us this Torah. What exactly is the new ingredient in Torah 2.0 that we don't have yet? We already have Torah already now. We're learning Torah. We're doing mitzvahs. What do you mean, Hashem, when you say you're going to give us a Torah now all of a sudden? What does that mean? So the answer is that what's unique about the giving of the Torah is as the Talmud says, the following example. The Talmud says that there were two kings that didn't get along with each other. King of Rome and king of Syria had a fight. They made a pact between each other, a sort of a treaty. Those in Rome shall not go down to Syria, and those in Syria will not go up to Rome. So in a similar way, before the giving of the Torah, there was a separation between the higher worlds and this world. The heaven belongs to God, the earth belongs to people, and there cannot be a connection between the two. So although when Yaakov is peeling the sticks and mating his sheep, the Zohar says that what he's really doing is the same divine revelation that we have when we put on tefillin, yet those sticks did not retain any holiness. Those sticks were able to be just thrown away with. Why? Because the divine energy that Yaakov connected with was a limited spiritual energy, and then have a physical effect in this physical world. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu that what I'm going to do right now is reveal my attribute of truth. Truth means it's in all places and in all times. That when a person puts on tefillin, they're going to confer on the physical animal hide that the tefillin is made of, holiness, so that the tefillin will now become a chefza shel kedusha, an object of holiness. That's the unique revelation that is going to happen now. That's what Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, why didn't this happen until then? Now, that's really not a good question. The opposite is a good question. The question really is not why didn't it happen until now. The question is, why is it possible now? What do I mean? Let's talk about teaching something. You said something? When you teach something to someone else, so who are you talking to? You're talking to the person's mind. You're trying to transfer an idea to someone else's mind. That's what teaching is. You're trying to give an idea to someone's mind. Can you ask a question? Why don't you try to give the idea to their feet? It's not possible, right? You're only able to transfer ideas to minds, not to feet. Why don't you give the idea to the wall, to a rock? You can't really give an idea to a wall or to a rock because walls and rocks aren't a vessel for ideas. That's true for ideas. In a similar way, we talk about divine light, spirituality. We talk about holiness. The Hebrew word for holiness is kedusha. Kedusha means something which is separate, something which is above, something which is not physical. So you can't ask a question, why is it that God's light didn't reach the physical world? Of course it didn't reach the physical world. Because just like an idea, which is a little bit spiritual, can't touch and can't reach feet, and it can't reach a wall, and it can't reach a rock, so too a spiritual light of Hashem has no relationship to the physical world. It makes sense why before the giving of the Torah, it remained spiritual, didn't touch the physical. That there's no question about before the giving of the Torah. That makes sense. The question is the opposite. The question is, how is it possible that subsequent to giving the Torah, we're now able to bring God's light to the physical world? How can we make a shidduch? How can we make a connection, a convergence between these two very distant things? So that's the answer that God gave to Moshe Rabbeinu, Ani Havaya, that this is something which is not possible. It's not possible to make this, to bridge this gap between the spiritual and the physical. It's only because of the infinite light of Hashem, because Ani Havaya, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, tell the Jewish people, my name is Yud Kei Vavke. Yud Kei Vavke is the name of Hashem, which expresses God's infinity. Only because of God's infinite light is it now possible that the truth of Hashem should be manifest and reach the physical world. So that is why they had to go through the exile in order to prepare for the giving of the Torah to receive this infinite light of Hashem. But now we are waiting for the coming of Mashiach. And the coming of Mashiach, things will be at an even higher level. When God gave us the Torah, it wasn't just where Hashem's light reached, it was also a different kind of light. Again, if Hashem's light only could reach something spiritual, that means the light of Hashem is limited. The fact that it's able to touch the physical is because there's an infinite light. That's why Hashem told us when he gave us the Torah, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God. I am Yud Kei Vavke. I am, only because it's Yud Kei Vavke, it's the name of Hashem, which has to do with his essence, is it possible for it to reach the physical world. But now, this galus, this exile, is a preparation for the imminent arrival of Mashiach. What's Mashiach about? Mashiach comes, not only will the light of Hashem reach the physical world, the inner workings of the physical world as it does now, the Bepnimius, Rabbi Gronel Vashom used to like to use the word download. Now we're able to download the godly energy into the physical world because we're talking and connecting to an infinite light of Hashem. But it's still not manifest to our eyes. We don't see what's happening. When you say a bracha on a cup of water, it says in holy books that the cup of water has changed. But you don't see anything that's happened to the cup of water. You don't see what's happening to the physical animal height. Mashiach will come, the divine light that rests in our tefillin and in the cup of water will be manifest to our eyes, so we could see a change in the cup of water as it was before the bracha was said and after the bracha was said. Why is that? Because Mashiach, the arrival of Mashiach, will bring about a revelation of an even higher light of Hashem. And therefore, it will not just reach the physical world in a way, in the deeper inner workings of the physical world. It'll be, when you download something to your computer, it's there, but you have to press a button to see it. Mashiach will come. Not only will it be downloaded to the physical world, but as it says in the pasuk, the glory of Hashem will be revealed. All flesh will see the mouth of Hashem speaking, meaning that the revelation of Hashem will be in a way that our eyes will see this revelation. The Rebbe said that, it says in the Talmud, that the first people who will be healed, everyone will be healed from illness, and Mashiach will come. The first people that will be healed, the Rebbe said, are those who have challenges with their eyesight. And Mashiach's coming will reveal godliness to our physical eyes in a way that we'll see godliness the same way we see physical things. But since there will be a spiritual, we'll get better spiritually, automatically we'll get better physically as well. They've actually said, and the first thing we'll use our eyesight for is to see the newspapers that Mashiach has come already. Anyway, so the difference between today and before the giving of the Torah is that through the giving of the Torah, it's possible to bring God's holiness to the world. The difference between this morning and this moment Mashiach comes is, the Mashiach comes, we'll see it with our physical eye. Not just that it's brought to the physical world, we'll see it. That's because within Hashem's name itself, there are different levels. There's Vaeyra, Vaeyra. There are different levels of revelation even within Yud Kivav. Mashiach will come to be the highest and deepest revelation of godliness, and therefore we'll see the truth of everything in the physical world. There'll be a revelation of God's essence, and God's essence is reality of everything. And therefore, our physical eyes will see Hashem's truth, not just our eyes, but our feet and every part of us will sense and feel and see the truth of Hashem. And that's what we're waiting for. It happened immediately. Any questions or comments?